Dave Reed, Ryan Wilkinson, and Joey Gallo.
Welcome into the NSFW Dynasty podcast. We are back again in the dead portion of the summer for everyone. We got our co-hosts here, Joey and Ryan. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Excited to get a draft under my belt. Haven't done any mock drafts yet, so it'll be nice to actually see how it works out.
It's going. It's now that hockey and basketball are over, and the ballers that just flipped to three episodes per week, so I feel like this is like the time of year. It's only baseball and football preparation right now, so it's a good time. We're getting ready for the season. It feels close. I think it's only like 10 or 9 weeks until week 1. So this is like part of football season. We're back.
We're back. I do take some question into saying basketball's over because WNBA has been huge for us. So let's not bury the ladies over there. But yeah, we're in the middle of the summer, and to spice things up, we actually we brought a guest on. Chris Cannell is from our personal Dynasty league as well, has joined us. So Chris, how you doing, man? Thanks for hopping on.
I'm good, man. Thanks. First time, long time. Been a loyal listener for quite a while. Excited to be on. I got to say, it's quite a rush here in the intro music coming into a live podcast. Getting ready to talk.
Gets you pumped, right?
Yeah, man. I was bumping in my seat.
Appreciate the loyalty. It's also because it's part of the league rules. It's in the bylaws that you listen to this podcast. So appreciate you for doing that. But yeah, and Ryan, he kind of alluded to it. Since there's not too much news going on right now, not much to catch up on. This is the season where part of the season where startup drafts are starting. So we figured it would be fun to just do a live startup mock draft on Sleeper and just kind of see how things go. And it's going to be fun to compare, at least for me personally, to how our startup drafts went when we went like 3 years ago, and how very few of my players are probably going to be drafted very high that I drafted back then. So I had a very ugly draft. So it should be fun to get like a little redo here. But I don't know where you guys' heads are. You guys excited?
Yeah, I'm excited. Chris is drafting from where I drafted 3 years ago, so I'm excited to see how he attacks the first pick here. Might potentially be the same pick 3 years later. We'll see.
Yeah, it's actually funny, right? Like we're both going to be, is it back? No, we're not going to be back to back. I'm back to back with Dave, and you guys are at complete opposite ends, but you're both going to be on the turns.
Double picking, yeah.
Earlier in the week, we did a random generator to see what draft slot we would get, and Chris has the first overall pick. I have the 4th pick. Joey has the 5th pick, so we'll snipe each other nonstop. And Ryan's got the 12th pick. So Chris and Ryan will both be having double picks back to back at the end of each round, which will be interesting.
And actually thinking back, I'm pretty sure you had the pick directly in front of me in the NSFW startup.
We did. We went back to back, and that's also why my draft sucked.
You drafted Trevor Lawrence, and then I drafted Jamar Chase.
Yes. Yes, we'll
always got to throw that in there.
We may be correcting that mistake at some point this mock draft. Which is very frustrating because it's all right. I would have ended up drafting Deshaun Watson if I took Chase, and instead I took CeeDee Lamb. So I'll take that combo better. But we'll see. It still doesn't feel good. But yeah,
and that enabled Harry to end up with Deshaun Watson, which was great for the league. So
that was awesome. They still are. They hate that so much. They have like 10 quarterbacks on their team now. But anyway, so for this mock, we'll jump into it pretty quick. Hoping to get to at least like 10 to 13 rounds to kind of see how the podcast is going. But for all the listeners at home, the scoring is going to be set up on how our league is set up, where it's a super flex, half point per reception, tight end premium. So tight ends will get an extra point or an extra half point. So every reception's a full point. And in our league, we have 2 running back, 2 wide receivers, and 3 flex. Don't know if that roster setup will really impact our decision making here, but just in case you guys are interested in how we play in our own league. But with that said, I've already started the clock. So Chris, it's on you. Why don't you take it away and get this draft going?
Yeah, sure thing. So obviously in a super flex number 1 pick, you're going to take a quarterback. I think that's pretty much a given. Some debate can be made. A lot of people talking about Jaden Daniels coming on strong, and he's super young, but I'm going to go with Josh Allen. He's finished in the last 5 years. He's finished number one, number two, number one, number two, something like that. So I'll take the guy that's a guaranteed top 2 finish for the last 5 years, and I think this proves Ryan's pick was correct 3 years ago or whenever we did the startup.
Yeah, love the pick. I think you got to go him, like you said. Some debate. Oh, Jamar Chase just getting sniped from Dave again.
Damn.
Dave, you'll never own Jamar Chase.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I was expecting so after Josh Allen, which tried and true, I think that's the right pick. It went Lamar Jackson, then Jamar Chase. And I was fully expecting Jaden Daniels to go there, and it would be 3 quarterbacks at the top. And I was going to see what would this look like if I didn't go quarterback in the first round and went wide receiver. But with Jaden Daniels falling to me at this 4th spot here, obviously you could still look at Justin Jefferson as wide receiver, but I think the value on Jaden Daniels is too much at the 4th pick. So I'm going with it, even though before this spot I was going to go a different direction. But now, Joe, it's on you.
Yeah, and this is a predicament, I would say, at this point for me, because I feel strongly about getting a quarterback early in a super flex, and I know that by the time it comes back around to me, there's not going to be much value left there will be value at the quarterback position, but if I'm looking at Burrow and Jalen Hurts and Mahomes, probably Mahomes, Caleb Williams, these guys will all likely be drafted, and I'll be looking at Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, Drake May. I'm going to take the chance, and I'm going to roll the dice here and see how it works. I'm gonna see how this works out. Going into this at 5, my thought process was I'm going quarterback no matter what. But I think that Justin Jefferson is the right pick here, and I will go with Justin Jefferson and see how that works out for me. So give me 1 second.
Both Joey and I doing audibles live. That's what happens with these live mock drafts.
Yeah, and then quarterback.
Yeah. So
no quarterbacks for a while. Okay. So that worked out for me.
After Jefferson went Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Bijan Robinson, Brock Bowers at 9, first tight end there. That we had this kind of discussion, which is interesting. Only 2 wide receivers went before Bowers in this format. Then you had Jahmyr Gibbs at the 10, and then Neighbors at 11. And now Wilk is on the clock with 2 picks.
Yeah, and I feel like Dave's going to like this pick. I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb. I was hoping he would fall to me. I feel like he has a chance to stay in that elite tier of wide receivers, and with the 12th pick, I got to take that chance. This is where it gets tough for me because honestly, I echo exactly what Joe was just saying. Like leaving the second round without a QB in Superflex is tough because by the time it gets back to me at the end of the 3rd round, like Joe was saying, I'm going to be looking at some of those later guys. So Mahomes is here, and I think I'm going to go Mahomes just to secure at least 1 quarterback in a super flex.
And Mahomes was debated for the first overall pick in our draft, and now he is the first pick of the 2nd round. Pretty interesting draft. But then after Mahomes went Genty, so we have rookies in this draft as well. It's not just bets. But if you are starting your own league right now, I do think it is fun to split up the bets in the startup draft and do the rookie only, just so you get the feel of that. But a lot of startups do include rookies, so you see our first rookie in Genty go off the 2nd pick of the 2nd round, then Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Puka Nacua, Saquon Barkley, and then Trey McBride right before Joey's pick, which would be interesting because McBride in the 2nd round with tight end premium is pretty good value there.
Yeah, I would have looked at McBride for sure. So I came into this pick thinking that I would go quarterback. And once again, I think I'm going to deviate. And the reason being is that there's going to be a quick turn. A couple of the teams that are picking before I pick again already have a quarterback. And I realize that a couple of them could double up. But in my mind, looking at the quarterbacks right now, Caleb Williams, Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, Drake May, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, Kyler, I don't really see anybody in this group that really, really stands out to me. Caleb Williams feels like a little bit more of a risk than I would want to take with guys on the board, like specifically Brian Thomas and Nico Collins. Those are two wide receivers that are very impactful. And I think that I am going to go with Brian Thomas Jr. So, yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. on my team.
Yeah, love that pick. Honestly, I'm actually happy, very much happy getting the 4th spot because I got to get a top tier quarterback and now potentially, in my opinion, a top tier wide receiver as well because Brian Thomas Jr. and Nico Collins are in the same tier for me as well. And I feel like Nico has the skill and the ability to potentially finish any year as the overall wide receiver 1 on the year. So getting him in the 2nd round to pair up with Jim Daniels feels very nice. I'm going to lock in Nico right now. Then after Nico went Bo Nix and Bucky Irving, which is
Bucky Irving, baby.
Shockingly early for me. But now Chris is back on the board here.
Yeah, man, I feel like the computer really loves non-QB positions here. They're just railing off players.
It's funny. Like, I was actually kind of thinking the same thing. If this was real life, then there would be far less quarterbacks on the board, I would say.
Yeah. But when you look at like expert draft rankings, they spread out the quarterbacks so much more. But when you're really doing it yourself, you're like, I don't want to get stuck with these bad quarterbacks. So they go so much faster in home leagues.
Yeah, so looking at the board now, I mean, I think the top tier wide receiver ones have fallen off now with Thomas and Nico going. I think I'm going to go quarterback again here. I'm going to do the classic double up. I did this in the first draft, and I think it's good to just lock down the quarterback position. Got Caleb, Justin Herbert, Drake May, CJ Stroud on the board. Obviously, in our league, I have Herbert. I'm a big Herbert fan, but I am going to go younger, and I'm going to go with Drake May.
Ooh, okay.
Nice.
I think he's young. I think he looked great, and the Patriots are going to be improved this year, unfortunately, for us non-Patriots fans. I just think setting your team up with Josh Allen and Drake May is a great start and kind of gives you all the tools you need to build around that. With that said, I'm on
sneaky rushing.
That's exactly what I'm going for. QBs who can get that rushing floor kind of give you 15 points a week. So I'm looking at a floor of 30, starting with that. Now I need to start looking at position players. And I'm going to go with a couple options here. There's my boy Lad McConkey, Marvin Harrison, pretty much my whole team. Jackson Smith and Jigba. He came on strong at the end of the year, but I'm a little worried about his quarterback situation this year. I am going to bank on the draft capital and go with Marvin Harrison. I think he is currently not in the situation he's being used correctly. I don't know if that's even going to improve this year per se, but I think in a dynasty position, I think you want to just stick with the talent and trust that it's going to win out in the end.
Oof.
Oh, yeah, man. I like that pick, Chris. I think that's good value. I think the pendulum swung a little too far on Marvin Harrison after last year when he would have been drafted in, like the first round if we had the same draft last year. He's no different player. So
yeah, definitely a few bumps, but
yeah, I mean, I was hoping Marv would fall to me. I thought that would have been great value as well as my wide receiver too. And then I was hoping for Lad McConkey, who actually went right after Marv, and then followed up with Omarion Hampton, another rookie running back. So now at my pick, a few different directions you can go. There's no tight end I'm liking here. There's always quarterback. Caleb and Justin Herbert are the main ones popping up with me that have youth and some upside. CJ Stroud, I could get the stack, but I don't think his ceiling from a fantasy output standpoint is too high. Running back, Devon Achane is actually pretty interesting here, but I'm going to avoid running backs, I think, early in the draft so far, unless I was getting like an actual Bijan or Genty. I'm going to go more quarterback, wide receivers one, and I think my sins of the past when I drafted too many running backs and they all got hurt, I'm not doing that again. So JSN, Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown are some of the names. Rashid Rice, if that's one of your flavor, I could see. I'm going to end up going with JSN here. I wouldn't feel comfortable with him as my one, but the fact that I have Nico already and JSN can slide as my wide receiver too, I feel a lot more comfortable there. And I think he has the upside to finish as the top 12 wide receiver on the year as well. So I'm going to lock that pick in.
Yeah. puts me in an interesting position because I can't say that I feel incredibly comfortable with Caleb Williams as my QB1, but I do like the upside that he presents, and I'm not disappointed. And in fact, I'll leave the draft with a lot of excitement that he is a steal in the third round of a superflex. Probably another guy that would have gone significantly earlier.
Mm-hmm.
This was last year. I like the situation he's in better this year than last year. I'm definitely going wide receiver. I share the same sentiment as Dave. HN is interesting, and I did look at him. And honestly, if you had sniped Caleb, which I thought you might, HN would have been in strong consideration for this pick. But I do have to go quarterback, and I'm going to lock in Caleb Williams.
And then right after Caleb, Achan, who we were eyeing, finally goes immediately after. Then Breece Hall, Justin Herbert, C.J. Stroud, A.J. Brown, and Jordan Love. So we've been having a bit of a run on quarterbacks now. So the computer's been picking up what we've been putting down there. But now it is back on Ryan for 2 picks.
Yeah, see, I'm glad I went Mahomes with my last pick because now the quarterbacks are definitely some tier down. This is a tough pick here. So there's Garrett Wilson, Travis Hunter, Jonathan Taylor if I wanted to go running back. I do have CeeDee Lamb, so I feel like Garrett Wilson with CeeDee Lamb would be quite the combo, but I don't love drafting Jets players, especially this early in the draft. But I'm going to risk it. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson here. I think CeeDee Lamb and Garrett Wilson is an awesome combo to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And then, honestly, I'm looking at the running backs. There's Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams. Could go rookie and get Henderson. If I wanted to, there's some Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield. Probably wouldn't make it back to me, but I don't feel like the value's there right now.
Yeah, picking on the end is tough in these formats.
There's so many picks till it gets back to me, but I'm going to lock down a running back, and I'm actually going to go with Kyron Williams.
Alrighty. Kyron, so how you feeling about that, Ryan?
It's a little risky, but I do think Kyron Williams can be a top running back, so I feel good having him as my RB1.
Yeah, and the one thing about when you're on the edge too, very rarely you're going to have players fall to you and get like extreme values. It's a lot of reaches. I think in our startup, Joe and I were at the very end, and we were just reaching left and right. That's all you could do is getting your guys. But after Kyron, when Travis Hunter, who he's going to be a wide receiver, guys. I feel good about that.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he's too good.
I agree with that too.
But then Baker, Ted McMillan, Travion Henderson, Sam Laporta, and Jonathan Taylor. Henderson going a lot higher than I thought he would go. Not that I don't like that pick by the computer teammate, but just earlier than I thought. And now it's back on Joe.
Yeah. So I was hoping that Baker would fall. I was interested in pairing Baker with Caleb, just given that Baker feels a little more secure in his role at this point. Running back options, Christian McCaffrey, I think is pretty good value here. I would also consider Quinshon Judkins, maybe Chase Brown, to be totally honest with you. And at wide receiver, Rashee Rice, I'm not a huge fan. T. Higgins, Odunze is interesting. Devonta Smith is interesting. Tough call here. What I think, let me see. I think I'm going to go wide receiver. Continue to fortify my wide receiver room. And it's kind of a quick turn coming back. I might be able to snag a second quarterback or perhaps a running back on the way back. I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I don't know if it's a steal, but I think I'm going to go with him. I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here, which I know is, I think that I'm going to go with my man T. Higgins here,
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear Dave's analysis of this pick.
It's gonna be good content for the old pod.
It's honestly, I was going to take T. Higgins if you didn't. at this point in the draft, it's your wide receiver 3. That's good upside. He's going to be hurt half the year, but
when he's out there, he's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be great. If you don't have to rely on him, that's an awesome pick. Did you make it yet, Joe?
No, but I'm going to. T. Higgins is the pick.
I like it.
I was debating a last-minute audible to Quinshon Judkins, but
so
T. Higgins is on my team.
So I'm looking at here is like other quarterbacks with my pick now in the 4th round, and there's a couple I still like on the board, and Chris already has 2, so I don't at most 2 go between me and my next pick, and I like at least 3, so I'm not going to go quarterback just yet. Running back, the way my team's kind of structured, and if I'm going to go running back, I'm going you, so I'm not looking Christian McCaffrey's way just yet. Chase Brown is interesting, but Junkins is probably the top of the list. Caleb Johnson, but I wouldn't go take Caleb Johnson over Junkins, so I'm probably leaning that way from a running back perspective. Still not feeling tight end yet. Wide receiver, the other look I could maybe do, but there's a lot of question marks. You got Rashee Rice, showed a lot of upside, but injury, and who knows what the workload looks like now with Worthy coming on and Hollywood Brown coming back. Roma Dunze, again, crowded. Devontae Smith, he's the wide receiver 2 on a low passing volume team, so not loving all these options here, so I think I'm going to just lock in a rookie running back and at least get something in that roster spot going forward. So put in Junkins. After that, we went Rice and then old man Henry, who will never, ever die. So, yeah, that's how he probably will last longer than Junkins in the league, so we'll see. But back to Chris.
Yeah, I was looking at Junkins myself, Dave, so you sniped that one from me. Henry's obviously going to be a great pick for another 2 years, but everyone's waiting for the wheels to fall off, and they never will.
It just won't.
I mean, team 2, we got Schluter here. We got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, so.
Seriously.
Turns out that's a winning formula. So
yeah.
So I'm looking around here. I feel like we're down a tier of tight ends. You're looking at like Warren, Loveland, some of the new guys, George Kittle, who might be tight end 1 again this year, but is 31 and getting up there in age. Kind of discuss the wide receivers here. I think there's some interesting options. Running backs, I'm kind of out on Christian McCaffrey. I feel like you don't know how he's going to come back. He could end at any time. Josh Jacobs is a little younger and in a pretty good spot. But I think I'm going to stick with going wide receiver. I feel like in Dynasty, that's the best move is to kind of load up on young wide receivers. And I am going to go with Xavier Worthy.
All right.
I'm making a bet that Kansas City offense is going to come back, and I like his speed. I like the way he came on at the end of last year, and I think he has the most upside of anyone on the board. I do feel like Devontae Smith might be a better wide receiver, but Philly doesn't really throw the ball that much. He's got A.J. Brown ahead of him. I think there's more upside for Worthy. I am back on the board again. The 2 picks here is tough, man. You got to plan ahead.
It really is. It's so hard. You're trying to think through who you want to pick on the first pick.
I'm trying to get through 1 pick, and now I'm right back at it again. So I kind of just went through all those options. I need to get a running back because I feel like if I wait any longer than this, by the time I come back around, there's really going to be nothing left. I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs here. I think he's in a good spot in the Packers offense. He gets tons of carries. I think that offense is going to continue to feed him the ball over the next couple of years, and I think he's the safest RB1 left on the board. I do think Chase Brown might have some more upside, but he's a later round draft pick. Who knows where the Bengals are going to go? I just think Josh Jacobs is a safer pick.
All right, so after Jacobs went James Cook and then Tyler Warren, a tight end, rookie tight end for the Colts there. And I'm back on the board again, and no quarterbacks went. And I'm still looking. There's a couple I could lean for, and it's definitely consideration. Kyler's there, Brock Purdy. trying to avoid the rookies. I love Trevor Lawrence, so like that's always top of mind. He's got the weapons this year. He's going to break out.
Does have the weapon.
And then that wide receiver. Really, the one I'd be looking at is Devonta Smith right now at wide receiver. I think he's a decent value right now, but there are a lot of players still in the wide receiver range there. So I think I'm probably gonna be interested here. Do I want to do the experiment of just waiting on a quarterback and see what value you get here? Nah, I hate all the other quarterbacks. I'm going to go quarterback and just lock in the guy who just got paid after being Mr. Irrelevant. I'm going to lock in Brock Purdy here. Nice 1-2 punch to go with Jaden Daniels. And back to you, Joe.
Okay, so for my pick here, currently have Caleb Williams at quarterback, Justin Jefferson, Brian Thomas, T. Higgins at wide receiver. So I'm probably not going to go wide receiver. By the time it comes back around to me, there will be guys there in the middle tier of wide receiver that I like that I can add for depth. Taking a peek at tight end, George Kittle is definitely interesting. He's definitely worth a look. And I'm not totally sure that I want to roll the dice on one of these rookies, Warren and Loveland. I've kind of been taking the stance that I don't want to take the coin flip to see if either or both or one or neither of them are going to work out. If one of them hits and I really want to try to acquire via trade, I will. So for me, this pick is largely between quarterback and running back. I probably would have gone Kyler Murray over Brock Purdy.
You want that headache?
Given the choice between those two, which I know is gross, yeah, just for the slight rushing upside, and yeah, I mean, I've been on the ride with Kyler in several leagues for quite some time, but I'm going to go running back here. I thought about Chase Brown. Given that I have T. Higgins on my roster already, it's at least I thought of maybe not going with Chase Brown. I'm between him and Christian McCaffrey. Tough call between these two. But you know what? I think that I'm going to go for the home run. Well,
which one's the home run?
Yeah, I was gonna say
they both be home runs.
I think for the current year, if I'm trying to position my team to be in the best position that it could possibly be this year, it would be McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And just given the fact that, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Christian McCaffrey. It's a little bit of a dice roll, but if it hits, then my team will be in great shape with the potential RB1 for 1, maybe 2 years. And hey, it's a similar situation I feel with Derrick Henry. And I mean, like James Cook went 3 picks before Christian McCaffrey. I would significantly rather have Christian McCaffrey than James Cook. So
for sure.
Just generally speaking, I like the value in the 5th round, getting a guy who could be a top 2 running back if he just stays healthy.
And he's already paid, so he's not worried about showing up. He can't. Where Cook, I think there's still contract dispute there. But then after McCaffrey went Devonta Smith, who I thought it's good value in the 5th. Chase Brown, that we talked about a bunch. Roma Dunze, RJ Harvey, the rookie who has not been the news has not been kind to him over the past month or so. So that's a little earlier that I would be looking. Caleb Johnson, who I'm actually liking a lot now at this range as well. He has a lot of upside. Terry McLaurin, and then Ryan back on the clock for double picks.
Yeah, so I am glad that this guy fell to me. I don't want to make the mistake that I made in our actual draft where I never drafted Lawrence. A tight end. No, that would be a mistake. No, I want to grab a tight end so that I'm not desperate for one in the 10th round like I was in our league. George Kittle fell to me, obviously older, but I think, easily one of the top tight ends right now. So I'm going to grab him with my first pick. And then I do think I'm going to look at quarterback here just because, 2 more rounds of picks, I would imagine a lot of quarterbacks will go. People will pick up their second QB, and I'll be looking at someone like Bryce Young or Justin Fields as my QB too. So I actually think Kyler Murray.
Justin Fields.
I'm going to go with Kyler Murray here. I feel like, this late in the 6th round is pretty good value. I know some people are out on him, but I'm also in on him in our actual league, so I'm going to stick with him here.
It's just a roller coaster ride. You just
I can't stand him. I'm out.
You strap in and go for it.
I'm out on him. And then after Kyler, went Ken Walker, Chuba Hubbard, DK Metcalf, Zay Flowers, Jameson Williams, and DJ Moore. And then it's back to Joey. So he had a bit of a wide receiver run there.
Yeah, I'm in an interesting position here. I did take a peek at quarterback. JJ McCarthy is interesting. I'm peeking at Trevor Lawrence, if only because I have Brian Thomas Jr. on my roster. But the fact is, I have Justin Jefferson too. And if JJ has a stack, kind of like if that hits, that could be big. So that's interesting. I might roll the dice and see if McCarthy makes it back around to me. Cam Ward's still on the board, and like I said, Trevor Lawrence is there. Jared Goff, Michael Penix, Dak Prescott. I feel like these guys are all in a very similar tier. So I'm going to. Right now I'm between wide receiver and tight end for this pick. I really don't want to go with Colston Loveland, but that is kind of screaming to me right now as a potential pick. On the wide receiver side, Emeka Egbuka, Jordan Addison. I like Addison. I won't take him on a team where I already have Jefferson. Chris Olave I'm out on. George Pickens is interesting as well. So it's pretty much, I would say, Pickens, Egbuka, or Colston Loveland. I think I'm going to take the rookie tight end, even though I literally just said that I was out on these guys. The fact that I can stack him with Caleb Williams, I think that I like the upside there. So Loveland it is.
Yeah, I would have taken Loveland if you didn't. So that's not a deal for me. But no, it's good. At this point in the draft, that's great. But I'm a little hesitant on Loveland as well, but I think this is a great time to be scooping him up. So now I'm probably going to go wide receiver here. Pretty balanced. Again, I have two quarterbacks in Daniels and Purdy, so don't really need to waste another pick on a quarterback. Got Nico and JSN, wide receiver, and Junkins at running back. Tight end, really, it's like TJ Hawkinson, but I think I'd rather wait and get another position first. No running backs really jumping out. This is when you start getting to like old man territory. So I'm not really trying to grab any of these guys yet. So I'm going to get some mute. So it really comes down to a lot of the same names Joe just mentioned. Ibuka, Addison. You could go for Hill, but that's kind of against I'm an ageist when it comes to these drafts, so I'm not going to be doing that. Olave, I love. Obviously, concussions are a concern. I think I'm going to go with Egbuka just because I see a path for him to have more upside, where Addison will always be a big cap because of Justin Jefferson on the roster, even though I do like Addison as well. But I'm going to go with Egbuka, the rookie, and hope he shows out. After that went the players we just mentioned, Olave and Addison, and then it's back on Chris.
All right. So nice little wide receiver run, and thankfully the wide receiver I was going to take, it has not been chosen yet. And this is someone who I think the pendulum, again, another guy who the pendulum swung a little too far the other way, and that's Jalen Waddle. He's had a little rough year last year. He's been banged up a bit, but I think as everyone knows, Jonnu Smith no longer on the Dolphins. There's huge target vacuum that's going to be filled, and there's really no one on that offense besides Tyreek, Achane, and Waddle. And as we just discussed, Tyreek's getting up there in age, so Jalen Waddle could be wide receiver 1 in Miami in the next year or two, and he's shown elite metrics, and he's been great. So that's my first pick. I'm going to go Jalen Waddle.
It's a nice wide receiver 3 on your team.
Yeah, I love my wide receivers.
No.
I'm kind of agreeing where Dave says that we're kind of in that gross old man running back territory. I do think Alvin Kamara, if you're looking for this year, is another solid pick. That guy just puts up numbers every year. He's on a bad offense, still manages to put up numbers, but I think I'm going to pass on him. You got Mixon, Montgomery, Pacheco, who knows how he's going to come back from injury. Cam Scatterbo, who I drafted, I honestly think he's ranked too high here still, personally. So you're kind of not a lot of options there. Looking at tight end, again, Ryan made the mistake of waiting too long on a tight end in our startup draft. I made the opposite mistake, and I took Kyle Pitts in the 3rd round, so I'm trying to avoid that mistake. I think I'm going to have to just go back to the well and grab another wide receiver. And
it's always get a wide out.
Yeah, they hold their value. They're young. I am going to go with Matthew Golden. I'll stick with someone young.
Oof, okay. I like it.
I think he's got a clear chance to be the number 1 in Green Bay. They obviously weren't too happy with the receivers they had last year, a bunch of wide receiver 2s, and they took another one. I think he's got a clear path to that. So as a wide receiver 4, I think that's a lot of upside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love the pick. I took him in our real draft, so I'm hoping that hits. And then after that, we had T.J. Hawkinson and George Pickens, which Pickens is definitely an interesting pick there. T.J. Hawkinson going means that I am probably not drafting a tight end for quite a bit now. Dalton Kincaid, I guess, but he seems pretty much like a jag. Maybe Mark Andrew, end of his career, Tucker Kraft, Kyle Pitts, we just talked about, Njoku, Kelsey. It's a bunch of guys that you're not really excited about, so I'm probably going to avoid that. Running back, this feels like the Mixon, Kamara, Montgomery zone. Going to go there. If I was a real draft and there was trades afterwards, I could also go quarterback here and just try to fix my roster that way in the trade market. But it's not, and I'm trying to get likes here, so I want people to like my roster at the end of the year. So I'm probably going to just go wide receiver again here. You got Tyreek again. You got Mike Evans. I have Igbuka, so I'm not going to do that. You got Jerry Jeudy, who is a bit under valued, I think, in general. I've been a Jeudy hater, but I think the hate's gone a little bit too far. He put up 1,200 yards last year, so yeah, some talent there. Ayuk is obviously if you want some upside from the injury, but where do I want to go? I don't want to overdo it on youth. Yeah, I think honestly. I'm going to just go with Jeudy here and get a tried and true player to offset some of the rookies I got on the roster.
All right, back to me. And I like the way that my roster is constructed right now. 1 running back in McCaffrey, 1 tight end in Loveland. The one thing about, and obviously the 3 wide receivers in Caleb Williams, the one thing that I'm not totally in love with is just the fact that my QB1 is an unproven prospect type of a guy, and hopefully this year is better than it was last year. Although, for fantasy purposes, he had some good games last year. So, and then obviously the situation with Loveland is a little bit of a question mark. I'm going to go quarterback here just to solidify that position. There's another, 16 picks or 14 picks until I pick again. And I don't love that many quarterbacks left on the board, like Ryan or Dave or somebody said earlier, right? If I don't take another quarterback here, I'm likely looking at the Goff, Penix, Prescott, Young tier. So I'm gonna roll the dice, and I'm gonna take the stack. I like the idea of having JJ McCarthy and Justin Jefferson. I know we've only seen JJ McCarthy on the field once, but he looked fantastic. And I'm also kind of banking on the fact that if Kevin O'Connell?
Yeah.
I was going to say Kevin O'Connor. Shout out to Yahoo NBA. But if Kevin O'Connell was able to turn Sam Darnold into a good quarterback last year, that makes me very confident in JJ McCarthy. So I will take JJ McCarthy as my QB2 and hopefully it hits, and I'll have the stack with him and Justin Jefferson for several years to come.
Yep, don't hate the upside there. After that went Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans. All the old guys are going. Then Isaiah Pacheco and David Montgomery. We have hit that range where you got to start rounding out with some vets, and it's back to Ryan for 2 picks.
Yeah, so I do have my quarterbacks locked down, but I do feel like Cam Ward is an interesting pick this late in the draft. If this was a real startup draft, I am considering grabbing a third quarterback here just because I don't love most of the running backs or wide receivers in this range. Honestly, if it was real, I would pick Cam Ward, so I'm going to do it, even though I wouldn't be starting him or Murray right away. It gives me some upside, and if Murray doesn't hit and ends up being a downward roller coaster, I'll have Cam Ward on the roster. And
if Cam Ward does hit, then you'll have a very attractive trade piece.
Yeah, exactly. Now I am going to try to round out the team with some receivers and running backs. So leaning receiver here, even though I only have Kyron Williams. Devontae Adams is interesting here. Although then I would have Kyron and Adams on the Rams. Ayuk, there's some rookies. Check out the running backs.
Just as a reminder, when we do this in real life, we have 8 hours per pick. So real quick on the fly, baby.
I'm good for the first pick, but this second pick is really making me think.
The back-to-back's tough.
Yeah. Honestly, running backs, Brian Robinson, I feel like it's not a bad pick here as my second running back. I don't love DeAndre Swift. I'm going to actually go Brian Robinson here.
I like the pick, to
Yeah.
be honest. He was he probably would have been my pick if he made it all the way back to me, which maybe he wouldn't have because DeAndre Swift and Cam Scatterbo just went the 2 picks before me being back onto the clock.
Yeah, Brian Robinson's not sexy, but he is very productive. And he's, like 26? So he's not old. He's
young enough.
Years. You don't get excited. You don't, put him in your starting line and be like, oh, baby.
Yeah.
We're in for it this week. But, he's going to get you a solid double-digit points.
Yeah.
After that, he had some interesting upside wide receivers and Ricky Pearsall, Luther Burden, and Jaden Higgins. And then Dalton Kincaid went. And then you had DeAndre Swift and Cam Scatterbo. So running backs are getting real thin here and getting up to Joey.
Yeah. Just Christian McCaffrey for me at the running back position. So
you actually might not have any running backs.
I am looking running back. I might have the number 1 running back as well.
Could go either direction.
So I do think that fortifying the running back position is the move with this pick. And I really have to decide between whether or not I want to go with a younger, more upside guy like a Tyrone Tracy who's sharing the backfield with Cam Scatterbo, who just got picked. There's also the likes of Zach Charbonnet here, which is a little bit interesting. Ken Walker is already injured again in the offseason in camp, and he's oft injured. And honestly, Charbonnet looked really good with the opportunities that he got last year. Or I go for an older fella. James Conner is interesting. And Aaron Jones, a little bit further down the list, is interesting as well. If I didn't already have 2 Vikings, I do think that Aaron Jones would be my pick here. I really like Aaron Jones. I feel like he quietly put in a really good season last year. But the fact is I don't want to overload too much on Minnesota's offense, especially with the slight possibility that McCarthy has a little bit of growing pains. So I am going to fortify the running back room with James Conner. I like James Conner this year, and he is very solid. I think that I can always look to replace running backs in either the draft or what have you as time passes. So I'm not too devastated that my running back room right now is two of the older folks.
All right, so it's on me. Honestly, what you'll realize when you do startup drafts, it's very rare are you good at all positions. You're going to end up kind of punting one, and running back is the one that apparently I'm going to be punting this time because I'm not in love with anyone right now. There are a couple wide receivers I'm interested in. Still need a tight end. There's a couple that could be interesting there as well. Chris is the only team before my next pick that doesn't have a tight end so far. He just have 2 picks, so it could be a look that he is going. But I'm gonna go with maybe taking the chance that if I want a tight end, he doesn't take the 1 or 2 that I'm looking at. And there's a couple wide receivers, and I wouldn't be upset if I doubled up on wide receivers here. I'm gonna start with taking one of the guys I wanted, and I'm shooting for upside again. And Trey Harris, the rookie, has a lot of upside on the Chargers. So I'm going to go with him and see what Chris does if he snipes me with any of my other picks. But after Trey Harris went Ayuk and Godwin.
All right. So it's up to me. I am kind of in the same boat as Dave punting running back here. I have Josh Jacobs.
Actually. Oh, no, he does have Jacobs.
I have Josh Jacobs, and I took Golden, and I do need a tight end, and I definitely like Tucker Kraft on the board more than anyone else, but I think that is way too many Packers. So I am probably also going to punt tight end for right now.
Which is one of the reasons why I didn't take one. Let's go. Tucker Kraft was the tight end I'm looking at as well, but I also realized you had Packers. But
yeah, too many Packers. So let's see. We got wide receivers. Devontae Adams, who obviously is more of a short-term pick, but I think he is going to have a great year in Los Angeles. I think he's going to fill a lot of targets that Cooper Kupp got, and in a McVay offense, I think that is a high-value pick. I really like Josh Downs as well. There's a lot of talk about him this offseason coming into a big year. He showed a lot of talent last year. But I think I'm going to follow what Wilk did, and I am also going to go for a third quarterback. The options here are pretty gross, as we've discussed. Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, Michael Penix. So I am going to go with Dak Prescott here. He's a little older. He did finish as QB3 overall 2 years ago, and odd year Dak Prescott has finished the QB1 for the last 5 consecutive odd years. I think it gives me a little cushion here. Let's say Drake May comes out of the gate a little slow. The Patriots offense isn't what we think it's going to be. That gives me a viable QB2. Gives me some trade bait if I want to move Dak for younger players later in the season. So that's where I'm going to go with this pick. I think he is a little old, but he's undervalued here. And I think the Cowboys specifically this year are going to throw the ball a ton because they really don't have much else to do. That is my first pick. Now on to my second. Again,
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, he's staring me in the face. What if I make Dave mad and just go Tucker Kraft here and just
you could
on Packers? No, I'm not going to.
There's one other player, over Kraft. I'm hoping he gets back to me. So fingers crossed.
I'm trying to decide. So in a real draft, I might not do this, but Tyrone Tracy does interest me in terms of filling out a starting roster here. Because once you get past that, you don't really have anyone else that's a starter besides Aaron Jones and maybe Najee Harris for a little bit if you count him. Got a lot of split backfields.
The offense could be a lot better this year in New York.
Yeah. If the line stays together.
I think Tracy has been undervalued too. I think there's going to be – I don't think Cam Scatterboo is taking over the running back one duties there. He's a solid back, but he's not explosive at all. Everyone's been talking about his slow 40 time. No one's had a 40 time that slow and been like a super productive back. So I think there'll probably be a 50-50 time split there.
Yeah, no, I agree. The danger there is Scatterbo takes the short yardage goal line stuff, which helps nobody.
Which he probably will.
I got a young team. I think. I mean, Jacobs might be my oldest. Well, Dak. No, I just said Dak. He's my oldest player, but I'm just gonna go for the talent, and I think Devontae Adams is gonna have a big year. So I'm gonna fill out my wide receiver room with him.
Yeah, I like Adams for you there, just given the fact that you don't know what Matthew Golden's going to look like coming out.
Yep.
So throwing another wide receiver on there that you can rely on for at least this season is a smart move.
Yeah, that's my thinking.
All right. So after Adams went Jaden Reed and Travis Etienne, who just a year ago was a top 6 running back in Dynasty, and now he's only down in the 9th round. Now it's back on me. We've talked a bunch about the running backs. Tracy's someone I am seriously considering here because of all the options, he's the one that I think has some youth and a role. Everyone else either has a defined role and is older, like Tony Pollard, Aaron Jones, or you're hoping someone whose youth has kind of split time like Zach Charbonnet, or hoping that one of these rookies kind of break out. But I could also go Tucker Kraft if I was going tight end. He's the highest rated on my board. Trevor Lawrence has to go soon, right? But there is one wide receiver who I'm banking on the upside, and that is Josh Downs, as we were alluding to. There's been a lot of hype there. His per route metrics are like elite, and obviously the quarterback play could be iffy, but can't be worse than last year. So hoping to strike gold here with Josh Downs and have a pretty hopefully elite wide receiver core. And now it's showing.
You get to enjoy Daniel Jones as your quarterback.
If Wando Robinson can catch 100 passes or something, Josh Downs can dominate.
That's very true.
Yeah, frankly, it would have been a shame if we had made it through this entire draft of us being next to each other without you sniping me one time.
Was Downs your guy?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not in love with Downs, but I wanted Downs in that spot, just given that the other wide receiver options there. I've gone running back, tight end, quarterback, running back, so I'm definitely looking at the wide receiver position right now, and I do like the upside of Downs compared to some of the other guys that are on the board right now. Cortland Sutton, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Jack Besh. Not really in love with any of these guys. So yeah, I mean, it's not super pretty, but I think I'm leaning towards Cortland Sutton with this pick.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty solid, and I think the overall offense is trending in the right direction in Denver. There's a lot of Marvin Mims upside hype going around, but Cortland Sutton has been he was the number one option in that offense last year, and I think Jaden Higgins already went. Yeah, he went last year.
Higgins got
Yeah. All right, so it's looking like it's going to be Cortland Sutton for me.
All right,
I'm not excited about it. I would have been excited about Josh Downs, but you know what? Sometimes you got to make picks that you're not excited about and just secure solid guys on the team. And Sutton, I think, is a solid guy.
Yeah, I mean, he is the one on that team with a good quarterback in Bo Nix. And then after that, he had Jared Goff, Khalil Shakir, Trevor Lawrence, finally teammate coming through again for me, Tyrone Tracy, Michael Penix, and Bryce Young. So you're seeing the quarterbacks start to go now as a lot of teams get scooped of their second quarterback. Ryan's already got 3 though, so he's okay there as he is on the turn.
Yeah, I am good at quarterback, so I'm looking at another receiver here. I have obviously CeeDee Lamb and Garrett Wilson. I'm going to grab someone who I think is kind of similar to Brian Robinson. You don't hear much about him, but he's generally pretty solid. He's the wide receiver 1 on his team right now, and that is Jacoby Myers.
No. The wide receiver 1, not the receiving option number. But yes, no, he is another. He's like your vegetables right there. You just got to take them.
Yeah.
And then honestly, I just want a part of the Josh Allen offense, and so I'm also going to select Keon Coleman as my next wide receiver.
Some upside. Matthew Coleman went Zach Charbonnet, Jono Smith. Oof, it's gonna be tough.
Oh baby.
Fields, Mark Andrews. Tucker Kraft and Kyle Pitts. So we have a tight end run going now.
Yeah, that's bad news for us, Dave.
I know. Honestly, a lot of players I was hoping slip one more round. Even Charbonnet would have been nice, but yeah, tight end's going to get ugly. But Joe, you're up.
Yeah, it's a couple rounds now where guys that I was looking at have gone before my pick. I would have given a look to Justin Fields there. I do think that there is quite a bit of upside with Fields, not from an NFL standpoint, but from a fantasy standpoint. Granted, his contract does allow him to be disposed of within, I don't know, I think it's only really 1 year. He's guaranteed a job. But when he's out there, he produces a ton for fantasy. So he was worth a look. But alas, he's gone. Looking at other positions, tight end is interesting to me because I have Colston Loveland, but I'm not sure what his role is going to be from day one. Obviously, Cole Kmet is still there. We're not totally sure. I mean, will they both be on the field? I don't know. There's so many mouths to feed in that offense, so there's a little bit of question. I probably will take another tight end soon. So just putting that information out there for these other guys who are tight end needy. I think that I'm going to pick another wide receiver here. Aaron Jones again. I just got to put in a little plug for my man Aaron Jones. I feel like he's being slept on, and he's definitely interesting in this particular spot because he was very, very productive last year at running back. But I'm going to take another shot at wide receiver, and I'm actually going to take it on the rookie, Jack Besh. I like the quarterback situation in Vegas, and I think that overall I have high hopes for Geno Smith. Geno Smith did wonders for my man JSN last year in Seattle, and yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of people from at the wide receiver position, right? I mean, you could basically say that Brock Bowers is the kind of wide receiver one there. Jacoby Myers, we just talked about a second ago, not a very flashy pick, but he basically is the wide receiver one. So I'm going to roll the dice with the rookie Jack Besh, getting a little bit of hype lately, and see how that goes.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm up. Tight ends are gross right now. So there's a honestly like 4 or 5 that I'd probably be okay with. So again, I'm probably not going to make the pick here, and just going to keep letting it get ugly and see what happens. But running back, I only have one running back on the roster. Aaron Jones is someone obviously Joe's mentioned I'm interested in, but I'm also interested in Tony Pollard there. He's receiving back. I believe is not as old as he's only 28. He's a little bit younger than Aaron Jones, so he might have a little bit more longevity. And he was pretty productive last year when he could be going out there calling him elite, but I feel like with a rejuvenated rookie quarterback to make that offense go, that it could be a pretty solid pick there. So I'm going to go with Tony Pollard right there. After that one, Jackson Dart, come on, and Sam Darnold. And the quarterbacks are going. I will say having Dart as your QB2 is risky.
Rough,
but yeah, so Dart and Darnold go. So the QBs are flying, and now it's back to Cannell's.
All right. Let's see what we got here. I do think I need to go running back as well. I filled out all my wide receivers. I already have 3 quarterbacks, so it's really down to that or a tight end, and not too thrilled on the tight end options either. So I am actually just going to echo what Joe says. I'm going to go Aaron Jones here. Besides that, we got Trey Benson, Bishop Tootin, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, Jaden Blue, Tyjae Spears, Javonte. There's really no one else that's going to get kind of any meaningful carries that you can predict. So I'm just going to pencil him in as my RB2. I do think there's a worry that Jordan Mason steals some work, but he's been efficient both years. He's been on Minnesota, and I think he's the safest pick. All right, and as for my second pick, let's see what we got here. I don't really like too many of these other running backs. I think I do like Bishop Tootin. I feel like he's very risky, though. I don't think you can really pencil him in for much this year. There's a lot of competition in Jacksonville. I think I just need to bite the bullet and go tight end here. I'm going to go with David Njoku. He's finished as a tight end one the last 3 years, and he's in a contract year. I do know they did draft Harold Fannin, but I think Njoku's going to be playing for a contract, and if he doesn't stay in Cleveland and they want to move to Fannin, he will find another home. And I think besides that, you really have Kelsey, who's obviously on the tail end of his career. I debated Isaiah Likely, and then you're really down to kind of some mediocre options. So I'm going to go David Njoku to fill out my roster.
Thank you. Because I already have Judy and Junkins. I cannot have another Browns on my team. After that, it went Kelsey, then Trey Benson, who's actually someone I was looking at there because I think there's pretty good upside. So right now, between tight end and running back, wide receivers are pretty solid at, so I'm not really looking at the wide receiver position, even though there's still decent value. Juwan Jennings, Kyle Williams, Debo, Calvin, Ridley, even Cooper Kupp's down here now. So no one you're excited about, but solid options. Quarterback, it's kind of gross, but there's still QB3, QB2 options, and Geno, Tua. Definitely not Anthony Richardson. Thank God. I'm so happy to be off that ride. Matthew Stafford. So it's really running back. Guys I'm interested in here from running back is Jalen Warren. I'm interested in Jordan Mason. I'm pretty high on as well. I think he has got a pretty bright future there in Minnesota. I think he can potentially take over after this year. And if Aaron Jones goes down, he's like an elite option. But then looking at tight end as well. The guys I'm looking at, Evan Ingram could be playing, they say, the Joker role. I feel like 8 people have been named the Joker in that offense this offseason, so we'll see what happens there. Got a couple of rookies, but Chris just mentioned it. Isaiah Likely, I think the hype on him's been a bit too much so far for what he only did in 1 week effectively, but he has a lot of upside and Andrew's on the way down. So at this point, since I've waited so long on tight end, I got to go for the upside and hope it pans out, and I'm taking Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, I like that pick there. Likely would have been in consideration. I peeked at tight end, and it was interesting, right? Like you mentioned that, like I don't know that the baton will be fully passed off this year. In fact, all indications are that Andrews will still be the type, but it's just this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like after this year, I think then the baton will hand off to Isaiah Likely. So to have him as a backup tight end would have been something that I would have looked at.
Instead, he's my starter.
Yeah, could do worse.
Yeah.
I'm going to peek at quarterback. There's a couple guys here. There's a couple starters here, to be honest. Tua, who I would never take. Geno Smith, I just talked him up a minute ago. Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones. I think these guys are worth a look in 2 quarterback leagues because you really need at least 3 guys on your roster that are either starting or in having a chance of starting, like a backup for one of your quarterbacks or whatnot. So peak at quarterback, but you know what? There's a lot of guys here. I can wade through the waters and grab Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson and chuck them on my bench later on. I'm going to go back to running back. And at running back, between 2 guys here, between Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, it's interesting that neither of these 2 guys are particularly exciting. And that's kind of like the theme of my running back room, right? McCaffrey, Connor, like a lot of guys, it's the twilight of the career. But they're going to be out there and they're going to produce. I think that I am going to. How old is Warren? 26.
Yeah, 26.
I think Harris is probably 26 also. 27.
27.4.
It's a tough call between these 2. The rankings, most of the rankings would put Warren ahead of Najee. I am a big Omari and Hampton fan, but I'm going to take Najee Harris here. I think that for a team that's going to want to run the ball quite a bit, he's going to get a lot of opportunity. And yeah, I'll have a couple options at running back that I know for sure will be on the field.
Yeah, and that offense should be pretty solid and run first, so he should definitely get some usage, even when Hampton starts getting more of the opportunities there. But then after that, he had Calvin Ridley, Matthew Stafford, Bashaw Tutin, Debo Samuel, Jake Ferguson, and Kyle Williams. And I think we'll probably end it around the 12th round. So, Rye, you got your final 2 picks for just this pod, and then we'll read off our teams.
All right. I have to say, I was looking at Ferguson here just because
I like that one.
I have Kittle, who's older, and I feel like Ferguson could have a bit of a bounce back year with Dak being healthy all year. Obviously, they have Pickens now too, but with him going, I'm going to have to pivot here a little bit. I think I am going to grab another running back because right now I only have Kyron Williams and Brian Robinson. And like what Joe was saying, Warren is still there. He's younger, definitely not a sexy pick, but I feel like someone I could potentially rely on for some points. So I'm going to take Warren first. And then with my last pick here, there's some interesting wide receivers. You got Pittman. Dave's guy Jennings is still here. Cooper Kupp's here. You got some older options like Diggs. I think I am going to grab a receiver. It's just depending on who. I don't love Pittman, and Anthony Richardson I think stinks, so I don't really want to be connected to him in any way. Jennings is an interesting pick. I think I am going to grab. I'm gonna take a risk. I'm gonna grab Dave's guy and go with Juwan Jennings.
I don't understand the risk there. It's like the safest pick you can get. The guy's a lock. He's a wide receiver 1 for that team. But yeah, I mean, I like that pick. And this is when you just need to start filling out the roster with guys you know are going to get playing time. So solid pick there. After the Warren Jennings combo, you had Jalen McMillan go, then Stephon Diggs, Jaden Blue, Michael Pittman, Cooper Kupp, and Tajay Spears. And we're back to Joe for Joe's final pick of this mock draft.
Yeah, so I could take Javonte Williams and round out the most
disgusting
disgusting running back core for a dynasty startup, but I will not. I think I'm going to also look at wide receiver. The options. Unfortunately, Marvin Mims is close to the top of the list, and I do really like the option of Marvin Mims. I mentioned him earlier. I'm not necessarily sure that I want to have both Mims and Sutton on the team, but at the same time, Mims is young, 23 years old, and he flashed quite a bit last year, so he's definitely in some strong consideration. Darnell Mooney is interesting. Cedric Tillman, maybe. Rashad Bateman, I don't necessarily. Actually, you know what? I have Rashad Bateman on our team in NSFW, so I'll say I think Rashad Bateman. He just signed a new contract, and I think the arrow is pointing up on his value.
I like Bateman a lot. I think he's a nice upside. He's a hard player to start and have confidence in because it's really us, but his end of year stats will look nice.
All right, I am stalling because I really don't know which direction I want to go with this pick. All right, I will take my man Darnell Mooney and just add some wide receiver depth. To be totally honest, he was pretty solid last year, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I totally trust Michael Penix, but
the Falcons bet their whole future on Michael Penix, so
yeah.
you can take a Darnell Mooney pick in the 12th round. That's all right. With my last pick, you already kind of ran through the wide receivers. There's some tight ends that are interesting at this point. More so, I would probably be looking at the rookies. Mason Taylor obviously has a role in tight end premium. He should get enough targets to at least be useful. I'm kind of a fan of the Terrence Ferguson. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I think he'll be good in that Rams offense that has been trying to get the tight end involved for quite some time now and not been able to. This is a time where I would really be looking also to add a QB3 and still might go that way. I mean, Tua is tough to rely on, but Tua at this late is pretty good value as a QB3 if you don't have to rely on him. Gino's not bad to kind of pair with JSN. So those are two guys I'm looking at. I only have two running backs, so that could be a way I would maybe lean. So like Jordan Mason, as I mentioned before, I'm very high on him. I think he'll be a solid flex option any week with the upside to really become a high end option. Javante and Ramondre Stevenson's just kind of undervalued. He's definitely going to have a role in that offense. But if I really had to break it down right now, I think in between Jordan Mason and Tua. And man, it's tough. And I think I am gonna go with the value of Tua in a two quarterback league, have him as my QB3, and see if he can recapture some of that magic. After that, went Shaheed and Javante Williams, and then Chris is backed up for the final pick.
Team 3 sniped me real bad. I was big in on Shaheed. I think he's exciting. Has the best talent of any wide receiver here. So let me go back to the drawing board here. Dave kind of echoed some of my thoughts on the running backs. I could take Jordan Mason. I already have Aaron Jones. I don't know if I love doubling up players, but that does insulate me from injury. Rashad White is an interesting one as well. He's so boring, but I do think he's still going to have a role. I don't really think any of these running backs really excite me. Jalen Noel is also interesting. He got drafted along with Higgins. The only thing that's a little concerning about him is he's sharing the wide receiver 3 role with Christian Kirk. So I don't really know if he's going to win out this year. I think I'm going to go back and I'm going to double up on tight end. I waited till the 11th round to take David Njoku. And like Dave, I am also drinking the Terrence Ferguson Kool-Aid. So that's going to be my choice. I picked him in our league. I do think this year might not be his year, but by the second half of the season into next year, there's clips going around Twitter of how excited McVay was to draft him in the draft room. So I do think he's going to have a big role in the offense. Looking at this now, though, another undervalued name is Dallas Goedert. I'm going to go Terrence Ferguson is young, but I think if I had to pick one for this season only, I think Dallas Goedert it could have a tight end one season. But my pick is Terrence Ferguson. I'll stick with a rookie.
All right, and we made it through 12 rounds. So, Chris, since you made the last pick, why don't you read us off what your team looks like through 12 rounds?
Yeah, I can do that. My quarterbacks are Josh Allen, Drake May, Dak Prescott. Running backs, I just have Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones, so I definitely have some work to do there. Wide receivers are Marvin Harrison, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Waddle, Marcus Golden, Devontae Adams, and then I have Njoku and Ferguson as my tight ends.
Nice. How about you, Ray?
Yeah, so I have Mahomes, Kyler Murray, and Cam Ward as my QBs. Wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Jacoby Myers, Keon Coleman, and Juwan Jennings. Running backs, Kyron Williams, Brian Robinson, Jalen Warren. So probably a little bit of work to do there. And then tight end, I did only end up with Kittle, so definitely some tight end work to do in a year or two, but hopefully solid for right now.
And Joe, what about your roster?
Yeah, so at the quarterback position, I have Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy. I'm in on the young guns. Wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, Brian Thomas, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Jack Besh, and Darnell Mooney. At the running back position, a couple of the old steeds, Christian McCarthy, James Conner.
McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey, James Conner, and Najee Harris. And then rounding it out at tight end, Colston Loveland, the rookie from Chicago.
Nice. And for my team, the quarterbacks got Jaden Daniels, Brock Purdy, and Tua Tagovailoa. And running backs, I pretty thin there. I got Junkins, who's but then Tony Pollard as well. So that's definitely an area I need to scoop up a few more players at. Wide receiver, pretty stacked, I feel like, and deep at Nico Collins, JSN, Igbuka, Judy, Trey Harris, and Josh Downs. And then my only tight end is Isaiah Likely, so probably would have to scoop up some value picks there later in the draft. But overall, feel decent about that roster there. I don't know how you guys feeling about your team. Anything you would have done different?
No, I like mine, to be totally honest. I feel like I would be in a position to compete this year. So, I mean, I got a little bit of uncertainty with my quarterbacks, but if McCarthy hits, then my team, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, JJ, Brian Thomas Jr., and T. Higgins is quite the trio there. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like my team too. I would say drafting at the 101 and taking a QB first and second round. That gives you one non-QB in the first 48 picks. So I do feel a little thin at other places, but then again, I don't have to worry about quarterback for several years. And looking at some of these computer teams, they have like 4 or 5 running backs on them. So Dave looks like we can make some computer trades to beef up our offense a little bit.
For sure. Scoop it up. I like getting wide receivers in dynasties. That's always a good strategy.
That's the move.
Yeah, I like my team too. I'm glad I went with Ward and ended up with the 3 QBs just in case. And then I think I got some top guys in Lamb and Wilson that can carry my team for now. So I think I'm like weaker in the middle range of my team, some top guys, and then the middle guys are maybe a little weak. But I feel like it's a team that could probably push for the playoffs, but probably wouldn't win this year.
I do got to say, it's crazy to see how some of the values change year to year or over like the course of a few years on these players. Obviously, don't get to do startup drafts that often in Dynasty unless you're starting a whole new league. But then you have a million leagues, and that's a ton. But it's a fun exercise to kind of see where you view players at when you're put in this situation.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I'll be interested to see. Let us know. Let's get some feedback on whose team you like the best, what you agreed with, what you disagreed with, and if you made it this far, thank you for listening and being a part of this. This was a fun pod.
Yeah, I'll try to get the link out to the draft board so you can kind of look it up as well and criticize our picks or give us props either way. But I also want to say, Chris, thanks. And what did you think about being on the pod for the first time?
It was a blast, man. Thanks for having me on. Anytime you guys need a guest, feel free to hit me up.
Absolutely. Well, in season when we start making the bets again, we need to start.
Let's get some action.
That's right. All right. Well, with that, I want to thank everyone again for listening and appreciate the time. And hopefully this was fun for you. And not much action in the summer, but this was a lot of fun. All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the NSFW Dynasty Podcast.